Every month, we have to address the house with the most complaints. The HOA president's house?
The president's house gets the most,
complaints.
What's he doing?
Luckily, the HOA approved the permits, but it could have totally affected our sale if they didn't.
Yeah.
This sounds like a way for a HOA to make money to me.
Yeah, and someone has too much power.
Yes.
Wait, the president didn't come to the meeting?
Nope.
She got ousted while she wasn't even there? She knew what was coming.
They kicked her out. Yes.
She knew what was coming. And he made her president. Wait. This is getting so good. It's like nepotism.
It is.
Hi, Alissa.
Hey, Katy.
Welcome back for another fun-filled discussion about HOAs.
Yes, lots of good stories we have.
Please. Wow, that was very Yoda of you. That's so funny.
Good stories in air quotes.
Okay, right. This is episode 262, and it is the second part to episode 260, which was 2 weeks ago. We gave you all of the information about HOAs.
Yes.
What we know anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our stories. But now we asked for the listeners' help, and there was so much help that we needed another episode because these stories need to be shared.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do you want to play this? Do you want to go back and forth? What's your vibes?
You know what's funny? It reminded me of a story. This will be our little intro.
Okay, great.
You know how I love to relate things back to movies?
Mm-hmm.
So Zootopia. Did your kids ever watch it?
A while ago.
The sweet little bunny rabbit wants to be a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, you're a bunny. You can't be a police officer. But she's like, I want to do good. I want to help the city and make it a better place.
Okay.
Well, because she's a bunny, they make her be the meter maid.
I don't remember any of that.
And her parents, who were so upset about her wanting to be a police officer because they wanted her to be safe, when they found out she was a meter maid, they were like, yeah. And now me and my kids go, meter maid, meter maid, meter maid. Because that's what they do. That's what her parents do on the phone. And she's like, no, I'm a real cop.
And they're like, no.
Anyway, it's her job to go put tickets on all the cars. And she decides well, I'm going to be the best meter maid there is.
Well, yeah, if you're going to do it.
Well, and then it's all the people are like, seriously? The meter ran out 5 minutes ago.
She was too good.
This little girl was like, my mom said, she wishes you were dead. And she's like, man, I wanted to do good and now everybody hates me.
That's the story of the HOA.
That's like being on an HOA board.
I wanted to do good, but now everyone hates me.
So you're just going to have to really check your mindset and your attitude and, just make sure that you're the positivity and being helpful in your HOAs.
100%.
I just wanted to start off with something funny before we dive into all these stories.
Okay, so we sent out an email. If you're not on our email list, you should definitely get on it. I think you can easily do that by picking up any of our freebies on the website, or you can just go hustlehumblypodcast.com/newsletter and just type in your email, right? So we asked the email list, do you HOAs, love them or hate them?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have stories?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the qualifier here. The first response was HOAs. HOAs. My, oh my, how I loathe and love them all at the same time. I love them for the property value, because typically in my area, those neighborhoods hold their value well because they require a certain standard of care and living. Now for the loathing. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The neighborhood HOA was fine until someone created a Facebook group.
Oh, no.
In the beginning, everyone was sharing how much they love the neighborhood and how great blah-de-blah blah.
Yeah, meter maid.
Right. Now it has turned into people complaining about weeds, someone posting someone else's kid's car for driving too fast, etc. We just recently elected our first board, finally sold 100% of the lots, and so ownership was transferred from the developers to the homeowners. And so I am cautiously optimistic for it to improve. Stay tuned. We're not going to give you names, but I will tell this poor person it won't get better. And I'll tell you how I know that.
Great news. We are sharing the cover letter you need to help your buyers understand and be ready to sign your buyer brokerage agreement.
This letter is packed full of education for your buyers and helps protect you in the changing real estate industry.
Here's what you'll get inside the buyer brokerage agreement cover letter. Your commitments to buyers detailing how you will serve them, the buyer loyalty agreement that explains the buyer rules,
transparency on how buyers' agents get paid, and a call to action to sign the buyer representation agreement.
Find it at hustlehumblypodcast.com/BBA. That's hustlehumblypodcast.com/BBA. Cheers to transparency and increased professionalism.
Our developer owned, they're allowed to keep it until they have no lots left. Okay. So like where she says they finally sold 100%, our developer turned it over to us with about 20 or so lots left because basically there was an uprising. And the residents in the neighborhood were like, you're doing a terrible job and we're taking this over. And he was just like, fine, you want to do it? Do it. So he picked out the first board and then was like, fine. And then he pretty much sold all the lots right after that. But it just because the homeowners are in charge instead of the developer, it will not change the types of problems that arise.
No.
Sadly.
And, there's always going to be the complainers out there. I know we always say be the agents other agents want to work with, but, also be the neighbor that people want to live by. Don't be the realtor in the Facebook group just being ugly and complaining about everything.
Yes. All right, you do one.
Okay. This one comes from Maryland.
Great.
I owned a house in Maryland.
I owned. Past tense.
Owned. When we went to sell, the HOA said we couldn't sell because our shed and deck weren't permitted. The shed and deck were there when we bought the house.
Oh my gosh.
They told us in order to sell, we had to apply for the permits for the shed and the deck. And I pushed back on it because what would we do if the permit wasn't approved?
Yeah, they're already here.
Would we have to tear them down? If so, that would have definitely affected our sale price because people like the deck and the shed.
No kidding.
They said the only way for us to sell, that it was the only way for us to sell. So we went on ahead and applied for the permits. Luckily, the HOA approved the permits, but it could have totally affected our sale if they didn't.
Yeah.
This sounds like a way for a HOA to make money to me.
Yeah, and someone has too much power.
Yes.
Like we have a lot of, let's go back to my neighborhood. We have a lot of here's my air quotes, grandfathered in issues because when the developer was in charge, he'd be like, yeah, man, that's fine. Do that. Yeah, man. There was no system in place. There wasn't like send in a request for your deck and get it approved and make sure it's in the right spot and that it meets. He would just be like, sure, whatever. Or he'd be like, no, you can't. Like he was a dictator. He was just doing whatever he wants to do. But a lot of times he approved things that the new board of residents or that the actual restrictions say are not allowed. So people would like this person.
Well, he got to do it. I want to do it too.
That's what I've been dealing with the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there's 3 houses that already have this kind of gutters and you're saying those gutters aren't allowed, but look at these houses. And I'm like, well, if everyone jumps off a bridge, are you going to jump off the bridge? Like, I can't help it if someone else broke the rules or I can't help it if he approved a variance, right? So a variance would be like a variance to the rule. But at the same time, it's really hard. Like, what if you bought a house that had the variance in place?
Right.
And then you go to sell and they're like, this isn't approved. It's just a whole can of worms.
It is a whole can of worms.
All right, I'm ready for my next one. I am team HOA.
Good.
If you're going to live in an established neighborhood with defined boundaries. The if was all bolded.
If.
They help keep up the home's value, monitor uniformity, and generally provide valuable services for the community, beautification, signage, playgrounds, pools, etc. But sometimes they can go wrong. Very wrong. That was the end.
That was the end? It doesn't say how they go.
It's just a warning. It's just a warning.
I thought she was going to be our light in the darkness.
No, sometimes they can go wrong. Very wrong.
Oh my gosh.
What do you got?
Okay, this one's kind of long, but it's pretty good. I'm not in love with HOAs, but I don't hate them either.
Okay.
My sister's ex-husband had to have a trailer for work, and it stuck 4 inches out of the driveway. They kept getting fined for it. They also lived in the cul-de-sac, so I thought it was a bit crazy. That's how he pays the HOA.
With his job?
That's how, yeah.
Like
so
he has to make money to pay.
That's how he pays the HOA, so stop fining him. I currently live in a neighborhood with an HOA, and my dear husband volunteered me for the HOA board. I hate it because every month we have to address the house with the most complaints. The HOA president's house?
The president's house gets the most, like,
complaints.
What's he doing?
You know what's funny is she says her name.
Yeah, don't do that.
And she said, I'm going to change it. But she writes, her name is Karen.
Her, that girl.
Like, no, like the
she
president.
said the actual
But she
president's
said
name.
the actual person's name in like a sentence, not like used her name in a sentence. She's calling her out. She's like, her name is Karen. I changed it to Karen because I'm like,
This is cracking me
this is so funny. Karen is a retired older lady who doesn't want to use,
Aren't they all?
who doesn't want to use Roundup.
Oh, my word.
She needs all the wildflowers and has one side of her yard with a picket fence.
Cute.
I don't use Roundup in my yard. No one else is allowed to have a picket fence and get complaints of her wildflowers look like weeds instead of flowers.
That could happen.
She has weeds growing through the cracks of her driveway.
Oh.
Trees and bushes grow through the slots of her picket fence.
Oh, my.
She is the first house you see
Ew.
when entering our neighborhood.
That is unfortunate.
This is my second year on the board. And at this year's open meeting, they voted me president. I did not want or ask for the position.
Oh, my gosh.
Because the few homeowners that showed up didn't think it was okay for the president to have the worst house.
Fair.
Karen did not attend the HOA meeting.
Wait, the president didn't come to the meeting?
Nope.
She got ousted while she wasn't even there? She knew what was coming.
They kicked her out. Yes.
She knew what was coming.
We tried to give her suggestions on how to clean up her yard.
Oh, my word.
So she painted the picket fence. The property manager started fining her. She had plenty of warnings and time to work on her house. She now wants to sue the board because she said her yard is compliant and the property manager is being militant.
This is wild.
We asked her to remove herself from the board.
Oh, but
And
they
now-
removed her anyway.
Yeah, they removed her presidency.
Oh, she was still on the board. Got it.
And now her and her adult son who lives there with her are door knocking the entire neighborhood even at 9 p.m. Even
To
more
do what?
complaints about that. If we can't get her voted off, my husband and myself will step down from the board completely.
Wait, the two of them were on the board together.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he
that
made her
seems
president.
wrong. And he made her president.
Yeah.
Wait. This is getting so good. It's
I
like
know.
nepotism.
It is. The other three members of the board are all older ladies that want to get off the board sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
They're
sounds
probably
like.
friends with Karen.
Maybe.
We would like to do fun stuff in our neighborhood.
You don't have time for that.
But her yard and complaints take up all of the meeting. Past HOA board members have reached out because so many complaints have come through.
Oh, wow.
They all got off the board because they were tired of explaining to her why she needed to clean up her yard. It's been a battle for 5 years.
This sounds like legal battle.
And still going.
needs
It's
a lawyer.
funny because this, I think that's what so many people think is, I'm going to join the HOA and we're going to have a big Halloween party and we're going to do hot dogs by the pond.
Yeah,
And
but you spend the whole time worried about Karen and her picket fence.
yeah, and the bees. Kind of like outside of Katy's neighborhood, there's a house that is not in the neighborhood.
No, he can do whatever he wants.
He can do whatever he wants. It's outside of the neighborhood.
That's right.
And it made me think of this lady, but they are actually beekeepers.
Yeah, correct.
They are honey. They make
go
and
buy
sell
honey.
honey. So you can pull up to in their driveway and they have their Venmo name and you it's, the honor system. You take honey and then you Venmo.
Yeah.
And
the honey's really good.
The honey is so good. And
Yeah.
he has all these signs on his property that says, these are not weeds. These are for the bees.
Yeah.
These are wildflowers. They are pollinating local native flowers.
Sure.
And he also has signs for the city that says, do not spray.
Like, don't round up that ditch in front of his house.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
And our city also sprays for like mosquitoes and things at certain times. So he's like, look,
No sprays here.
I want it to look like this. Please do not spray it.
Yeah.
I'm making honey.
Honey is here. Also, I recently learned a term called rewild.
Oh.
Yeah, my best friend told me that this is a thing landscapers are doing. Like they're rewilding yards or landscapes to bring back like the native plants or like wildflowers or whatever. I'm like, this is weeds.
Yeah,
This is going to look wild.
It's a good
But it's supposed to be
thing.
better because you're not putting Roundup on it. You're not like, just let the plants be.
So when we went to Austin for vacation, their wildflower, quote unquote, weeds, like along the side of the interstate, are this gorgeous bright blue. Ours here are yellow dandelions. But I remember looking at it and being like, look at all these weeds. And Tate being like, Mom, look at the pretty flowers.
Yeah,
and I'm
beautiful.
like, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full?
Well, Karen.
Is this something you want to care about and dedicate your life to?
Yeah.
Is this going to be the hill you die on?
Right, the weeds.
Right.
Yeah, people are so offended by weeds, too.
I know.
Golly. All right, I used to call them necessary evils, the HOAs. But the longer I live in one, the more I tell myself, I want to sell and move to the country. I agree it is a thankless job, but in my neighborhood, the board runs uncontested because no one who isn't retired has the time for it. It seems they have become jaded and don't really have the best interest of the community anymore. It feels more like a dictatorship every day. If you receive a violation, there is no warning. It is an immediate fine, whereas I think there's too many warnings in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't come off the record for 2 years. So if you receive another violation under that category within 2 years, the fine continues to rise, even though it is not the same violation. And the problems between lenders and condo HOAs is a whole nother story.
I mean, I think there needs to be a happy medium. Yours does give way too many warnings.
Too many warnings.
And that is too much work.
One warning, then you're fined.
Yes.
That's it. You've been warned.
Mm-hmm.
And the warning needs to be on your permanent record. Not you've been warned this month and then in a year you do it again. No, you've already been warned.
Yeah.
One more time. Whenever you do it, you get the fine.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do another one?
Yeah.
I swore I'd never buy a house with an HOA. When Barry and I found our dream Vermont house, we almost didn't go for it for this reason. We were very wary of an HOA. However, we learned every HOA is different, which is true.
It is true.
Ours is $1,800 a year and covers our road maintenance they're in a mountain community, our snow plowing, and our water. This is way cheaper than if we had to handle all those things independently.
Yeah, thank you for that positive HOA testimonial.
Well, you knew she would be positive.
Okay, I have one.
Okay.
After living in a few HOAs, I prefer there to be a governing association management company with a system in place.
Yes, systems are very important.
Yes, very important in HOAs.
Yes.
HOAs in larger, long-established neighborhoods are great if you don't mind being heavily regulated, as is my preference. In the neighborhood where I grew up, you would get a glossy postcard in the mail if the tarp on your separate backyard shed was left on too long. So, like, I guess they had some damage and, like, people tarped their sheds. Well, you have to get that tarp off ASAP. You can't just tarp it and call it a day.
What's the deal with the glossy postcard?
They would just spend money on nice postcards,
like,
being like, hey, reminder.
Get your tarp off.
She said, my poor dad went through this. I also hate when people park on the grass for extended periods of time. It's tacky, and I enjoy when the HOA makes it go away.
See, most people are like, thank you. That was a nuisance. But here's the problem.
Get your tarps.
For the most part, all of these issues are simply a nuisance.
Yeah.
They are not harming your health or well-being. You just don't like the look of weeds or Karen's fence with her natural wildflowers.
She tried to paint the fence.
And look, that's okay. You got to follow the rules. But you also should find out what the rules are before you join the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you have basically said, I am going to live here. I will follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all nuisances.
Yes.
It's too loud.
Mm-hmm.
And look, a nuisance can then ruin your life. But
yeah.
Are you ready for me to go?
I have something about nuisances.
Please tell us. Go.
It? Okay. This is from one who has a lot of experience because she did property management for condo associations.
Okay, yes.
In Massachusetts.
Love it.
She said it was her niche. Anyway, she said, this is just what she wrote. People have no idea what a condo is or what they are actually purchasing. Agents do a poor job explaining this. When buyers get into our community, they are shocked to find out they cannot have a dog or hang a flagpole or smoke on their quote unquote, air quotes, own balcony because you don't own the balcony. Mm-hmm. The agents just give the docs to the buyers to read them, but they never actually do. Then there is actually fair housing rules within the People with Disabilities Act. Associations have to pay for reasonable accommodations for disabilities. Mm-hmm. Nobody even knows this. Mm-hmm. Then homeowners think that the manager and the board can police noise. If we find someone, it is then a harassment Like my HOA is harassing me for being too loud.
Okay.
HOAs are so fun, to say the least. Seething facetiousness.
Oh my God.
A condo is great for some, but it is not an entry-level house. It is an entry-level piece of the whole. The lower price point comes with a lot of restrictions and dues. If someone is buying a condo, I recommend to them that they should get on the board. Then they can learn why landscaping has a $40,000 a year budget, or understand what is involved in the operations. But at the very least, they can understand how their money is being spent. I think a supplemental assessment is also better than raising the condo fee.
Okay.
So that was just some general insight, but
good thoughts.
Some condo, like it's not the board's problem that your neighbor is being loud. That could be a police problem.
Right.
So you really need to make sure before you go post on that HOA Facebook group, whose job is it?
Yeah.
And if this is something that is consuming your energy, maybe you are the person they need for the board.
That's right. If you're spending all that time worrying about it, just join the board.
Serve. Take action.
Just serve.
Serve.
All right, here's another. I had sellers that were chased off by their HOA.
Oh, my word.
They had never lived in an HOA before and decided that they wanted wildflowers instead of I didn't even know that was coming.
People and their wildflower issues.
Wow. This stirred up the HOA, who found that it wasn't against any bylaws. Like, that's not against the rules. So the HOA president went out of his way to make them uncomfortable and found a boundary issue with their lot. The issue created in the 90s when a fence was put up. The fence was approved by the HOA then president, who still sits on the HOA committee from the 90s.
Wow.
Whoa. That's 30 years of being, 40 years being on the committee. They drove my clients out, then tried to put a cloud on the title to keep them from selling. Well, you don't want them. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, let them leave.
It was long and difficult transaction, but we did sell for the asking price of $850. But here's the real question. Was the seller Karen?
Oh, was it Karen?
There's no way. But
that would be hilarious.
Y'all, the weeds and the wildflowers are hot button issues. Oh,
I think if this is really pressing your buttons, it may be time for a little life evaluation, level of stress.
Sure, what was that movie, Anger Management, when they're like, goose fraba. Goose fraba. Maybe you need to find a free Tai Chi.
Yes. We need to find a way to not care about the little things.
The weeds. Those weeds are making people crazy.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to do one?
So I have one that is a personal story from when I lived in Maplewood.
Great, let's hear it. Is it about weeds or wildflowers?
No.
Okay. Fine.
It is about the ponds and that when they wanted to put fountains in the ponds.
Okay.
That was going to cost money.
Yeah.
And they were going to do an assessment for the, were you there? I think you were gone by this point.
Long gone.
Yeah, because I lived there because you didn't. Okay. So they were going to do a neighborhood assessment so that we could put fountains into the ponds.
Okay.
Well, at the meeting, there was all this pushback because someone would say, I don't live on the pond.
Not going to see it.
I'm not going to see this fountain. I don't want to pay for it. If they want a fountain, then the pond lots need to be the ones that are assessed. And they also need to be the ones that maintain the fountain. But then they were like, no, the site, if you walk in the neighborhood,
you can see it.
You see it. It's not like the pond is surrounded by houses in a circle.
Hidden,
it's not hidden. It's you pass it on the street. And they were saying, it makes the neighborhood prettier. It could make people want to live here more, make the neighborhood more appealing. And so there was this huge debacle about it.
Yeah.
And in the end, they got some prices and the people with the pond lots did not mind covering the installation of the fountain.
But then was the HOA going to cover the maintenance?
Yes.
Okay. What a great compromise.
It was a great compromise. And, divided amongst enough people, it wasn't that much of an assessment.
Yeah.
So again, is this the battle that you want to fight? Is it that big of a deal?
Well, what I'm learning today is that the battles are all the same. Because in my neighborhood, we also have pond problems. We have 1, 2, 3 ponds in the front part of the neighborhood that have fountains, and 2 ponds in the back that are really supposed to be retention ponds, no fountains, okay? Fountains in a pond are quite a large expense. They're hard to maintain. They break. You've got to set them on the timer. There's electricity to run them.
Very similar
have lights.
to gates.
Right.
Yes.
Well, same thing happens. The ponds start running up a big bill, and all the people who don't live on the pond are like, we don't want to pay to fix the pond fountain because we're not on the pond. But everyone else says the exact same thing. But you can see the pond when you walk by, or people drive through and they're like, well, look at this beautiful neighborhood with the ponds and the fountains. And then eventually, you know, the board just has to be like, we have to fix them. They're here.
Yes.
And it gets done. But I think it's funny that pond problems are high on the list of problems.
Now, you're not on the pond with the view of the fountain. What do you think? You're okay with keeping them operable?
Here's my deal. If your neighborhood has something in it like that you would consider an amenity, having a pretty pond, when I drive by, I can see the fountain. I've taken the picture of it many times.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's considered a neighborhood amenity or something that gives it character, I feel like it's okay for everyone to chip in and be like, let's keep it nice.
Yeah.
So that
I agree.
we can enjoy it. Because there are some spots where you can get to the pond that are open to the neighborhood, right?
Yes.
Yes, my house is not on it. I'm not seeing it every morning when I wake up. But that's also the problem. When they break or something's wrong, the people that are on the ponds are like, well, this pond has got algae. This pond fountain isn't working. And that's my view. And I want to see it every day. So, you know, there's just a lot of turmoil about the ponds. But I say it's part of the neighborhood. We all have to pay to keep it nice. Are you ready for another story?
Sure.
I absolutely love living in an HOA.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness. I have lived in an HOA community for 15 of the last 20 years, 3 different condos. So we're talking about condos.
And she loved them all.
She loved them all. I currently own 2 condos in 2 different HOAs. So this is a good sampling. One is an investment property. I am a low maintenance person.
Okay.
I don't have time for lawn work, gardening, fixing roofs, etc. I let the HOA do that. I also love amenities when living in an HOA community. Security, a gym, a pool, package receiving, etc. HOAs are very common where I have lived, Chicago and San Diego. In Chicago, it is almost a given. You will have to live in an HOA at some point. San Diego, not as much, but becoming more common as our home prices have increased so much. I am able to position myself as more of a subject matter expert, having lived in HOAs for so long. So great niche, right?
Yeah.
Served on multiple HOA boards and fully understand the financing side of HOAs. I always explain to clients, you pay an assessment. This is just like if you lived in a single-family home. If you live in a single-family home, you need to put aside money for a new roof, water heaters, etc. I mean, it's true.
Yeah,
right?
Same thing.
This is part of your assessment. You may also have a gym membership or security for your home. If your HOA is gated or has a gym, take those off your monthly family budget because now that comes with your place. When they ask why assessments go up, I calmly explain that just as you would have to increase your home savings budget, you need to increase the HOA reserves because things cost more every year. A roof on a home doesn't cost the same as it did in 1990. That'd be nice.
That would be so nice.
Just as a roof on a condo building doesn't cost the same. I prepare my clients for assessments to go up about 3% a year.
Okay.
And be excited if it is less. The downside, insurance.
Yeah.
Really tough for HOAs to get insurance right now, just as it is for single family homes. This is a major issue in our industry in general. But basically, all good things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On that note, she made some excellent points. Like, does your HOA have a gym? Does it have this? Does it have that? A few years ago, I went on a listing appointment in University Crescent condominiums.
Okay.
Across from the LSU lakes. They are luxury condos.
Very fancy.
I hadn't been in many of them.
Okay.
And so this was sort of my first experience. It's gated. She gave me instructions on where to park, take the elevator. And she had a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo.
Okay.
It had high ceilings, but it was small, but it was cute. She had a very nice balcony. And she said, but let me tell you why I love this condo so much. So she was moving for work. She said, you see, this is a small place. And she opened her door. We went in the hallway and she opened the door across the street from her front door.
Okay.
I mean, across the hallway from her front door into the common area.
Okay.
Huge gourmet kitchen, a library with like really cute chairs everywhere, a living room, a dining table. And she was like, and let me show you my office. And I was like, okay. So we go into this office. It's a boardroom, basically.
Okay.
It looks like a title company closing room.
Sure. Okay.
Huge long table. She's like, the Wi-Fi is amazing. She said, but it's here for people to use. And no, she said, this is mine.
No one ever went in there.
Nobody ever comes in here. She says, I come in here every morning and make coffee.
Wow.
I barely use my kitchen because I just come in here. She was like, this is my office. This is where I watch my shows at night.
She was using it for everything.
Everything. She was like, my unit is perfect because it's like it's connected. She was like, to me, I don't have a 900 square foot condo.
She's like, look at all this.
I just open the door and walk across the hall and this is all mine.
Wow.
She said, let me show you my gym. She got her little key card, brought me into this luxury fitness center with like one person in it. She was like, this is my gym. This is what I do. Let me show you the pool. Nobody at the pool. And you've seen this place. This place is fine. And everything was so well maintained. She was like, I know all the gardeners' names. I know everybody that is on staff here.
She was like living in the Taj Mahal.
She was. And I thought she said, you know, people don't use their benefits. They think, oh, it has a gym, it has a pool,
whatever.
Nobody actually uses those things. And she was like, the reason I'm so in love with this place is because I use everything I pay for.
Wow.
And by the end of her tour, I'm like, should I buy this?
You're like, maybe I need to live here.
Right. Like, this is amazing. Like, my kids could go play. Like, you only own this little bit, but you have all this at your disposal. How convenient.
Gosh,
like, she
so
sold
convenient.
me. She totally sold me.
Totally did.
And it's just a reminder of how much you're paying for.
Right.
That you don't always take advantage of.
Right.
Y'all, we cannot believe it is our 5th birthday.
And even though it's our birthday, you deserve the gifts.
We are doing several giveaways and product discounts. Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com or our Instagram page to see all the ways you can participate.
Contests will run starting August 5th, and we will announce the winners on our actual birthday, August 19th.
And to our community friends, we will be having a fun birthday Zoom on August 22nd. Mark your calendars. Cheers to 5 years.
Okay, what's your next one?
Okay, this one is a good one.
Okay.
And I know that some of our listeners let their children listen in, so I'll try to keep this PG-ish, okay?
Okay.
This is from one of our listeners, and she did give us this disclaimer that maybe it's not suitable for work.
Let's also tell them that she said it's NSFW, and you were like, what's that?
What's that mean, Katy? Katy told me.
Not suitable for work. Okay,
what would I do without you? Okay.
I don't know.
I worked 12 years as a paralegal for attorneys that represented HOA and condo boards. I could tell some stories. And she does.
Oh, great. Perfect.
The one that always stands out, the one that always stands out the most is this particular dispute between homeowners. The complaint was that one set of homeowners' extracurricular marital activities were too loud. Okay. And the attorneys had to send a warning letter to the loud couple. I wish agents knew how important it was to review and familiarize yourselves with the declarations and bylaws handbooks before listing a home. This is clearly not something that HOA
They didn't know that was going to come up.
They did not. Anyway, she continues. They need to reach out to property management, if available, to ask about assessments and to not always rely on the homeowner knowing the information needed.
Okay.
I am sure it is different in each state, but a few items that always came up that caused fines or litigation. For example, company cars with logos on them could not be parked in a driveway overnight.
Oh no.
Another was when someone was forced to sell or remove their pit bull.
Okay.
Flags and flagpoles, always an issue.
Oh.
Everyone wanted to fly whatever they wanted, but the rules would say no. Sheds, fences, pools requirements were another big one. FHA financing is not always an option. There was just so many legal issues that I learned from working at the attorney's office.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
The flags. I heard a flag one recently. The HOA got over, was no flags because someone wanted to fly a flag that they didn't want flown. And then they said no flags at all. And so they made them take down their American flags. But then I think there's some laws in play there. So we're not going to get into that, but it can get a little dicey. Here's the next one. These are sounding more and more common. Hi, HOAs can be awesome for people that would rather delegate lawn care, exterior maintenance, snow removal, etc. If the association management company is organized and responsive, it can be a beautiful thing. If they are not, well, not so beautiful. Very interested to hear what everyone else says. Everyone else is saying the same thing. If they're good, they're good. If they're bad, they're bad.
Yeah.
And the line gets crossed very quickly. All right, what's your next one?
This listener has a condo listed right now in Nashville and has had several deals fall apart because the HOA board let their FHA approval slip. So it used to be FHA approved and everybody knew this complex is FHA approved and now it's not. That could be because there's too many renters now. That could be because their insurance, their master policy is not up to what FHA requires. She said that they are working to get it back, but I don't know how long the process takes. Let me tell you, it takes a while.
Yeah.
It really requires the HOA board to be on top of everything. So her seller's thinking they might just have to rent out the unit instead of sell it.
Ugh. And that's a problem when that wasn't what you wanted to do.
Right.
Okay, here's a story. This is currently happening in my HOA, not mine.
Yeah,
the listeners' HOA as we speak. I live in a new construction community where the developer handed over the HOA control to the homeowners at the beginning of the year. At that time, the developer transferred control to an individual who then started adding hand-picked homeowners as board members. So he said, you take care of this.
You're my friend.
They added them. Okay. All of this was done without a neighborhood vote as required by our CCRs. The community caught wind of this, sent out a vote to disband the current board. 94% of our neighborhood voted for this move. Instead of serving for the remaining 30 days, all current board members resign. So we're boardless.
We're boardless.
We are holding an official vote next week to appoint our new board. So much drama.
Yeah.
They are so much drama. Do you have another?
I have one more where they just give some good advice. So she says she has a lot of experience with HOAs and the majority of her sales are in HOAs for herself. So she was saying HOA fees also cover maintenance around your home. If you live in a single-family home, you are on the hook for general maintenance like a gardener, a pool guy, things like that. Things like a new roof or a tree that falls over. But I have also learned that there is not a black and white answer to good HOA versus bad HOA. When reviewing documents, it is important to review the CC&Rs, covenants and restrictions.
Yeah, I had CCRs also.
Okay, that's I don't know what the two covenants and restrictions, such as how is their parking? Do they allow rentals? Do they allow Airbnbs? And you always want to check their reserves.
Okay.
It is crucial to see if any special assessments are coming up or planning to come up. No one wants to move into a new home and then find out they owe anywhere from $2,000 to $100,000 on a special assessment. When I moved into my home, we had a $4,000 special assessment 4 months after closing. I had a client purchase a condo, and the seller prepaid a $25,000 special assessment that was scheduled. I always try to weigh the pros versus the cons of each HOA for my buyers. I also tell them that in addition to the rules of the HOA, you will have personalities to deal with, and you will never have a true understanding of this until you live in the community. For reference, I'm in California, and most of my HOA sales have been condos. HOA dues range from $300 to $600. When a fee
month, I guess?
Per month.
Gotta be.
When a fee is over $600 a month, I'm leery unless there are very nice amenities. I always ask for clarification before writing an offer.
That's very smart.
She made a really good point, though, about writing in there. And that's also part of our condo addendum, that any upcoming known assessments
Right.
are to be paid by the
Not just
seller.
like currently due, but like, do you know they're coming?
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. All right, here's a good one when we go back to our poor Floridian friends.
Yeah.
I have so much to say about HOAs right now, specifically condo HOAs, namely that they're pretty much all in trouble. Insurance premiums have tripled for HOA. This person is in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance premiums have tripled for HOAs, causing monthly dues to skyrocket in order to cover them and deductibles to rise sharply. The domino effect is there is little left over than to contribute to reserves every month. So reserves have dwindled, making special assessments a likely outcome down the road. Add in that many of the complexes built in the 60s and 70s are facing some deferred maintenance in their roofs, boilers, garage door openers, swimming pools, you name it. To top it off, when lenders see the state of the HOA's finances, they won't lend on these properties and the deal falls apart. I just rescued a deal by bringing in the local credit union who can do portfolio loans when the buyer's first lender realized she couldn't do the deal at the 11th hour.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is to have the lender look over the HOA docs and make sure they can do the loan before even going under contract if possible. I'm not sure how localized this is, but I know insurance premiums are up everywhere, and many HOAs have been dropped altogether by their insurance companies since the collapse of the condo building in Miami.
So fascinating.
I know. It's really, really bad. Now, you're going to tell us, you want to tell us about these? Is this the Florida law?
One of our listeners from Florida, Kelly Denio, sent us a copy of her newsletter because it includes the new 2024 Florida HOA laws. So these are
the Gladys Kravitz law.
Yes, the Gladys Kravitz law. This is as of July 1st, 2024.
So it's just happened.
Just happened, yes. So HOAs are now prohibited from enforcing rules on some residents, but not others.
Oh, that should be a given.
Equality, yes.
Okay.
Banning homeowners or their invited guests from parking personal, business, or first responder vehicles that are not commercial vehicles in their driveways, basically like regardless of if there's a logo on it.
Okay.
Banning contractors or workers from the homeowner's property. That's a big thing in CCL.
Okay.
Fining residents for leaving garbage cans at the curb or end of their driveway within 24 hours of scheduled trash collection.
So they're saying you can't fine them. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Fining residents for leaving holiday lights or decorations past the HOA rules without prior notice.
Okay.
After which the homeowner has 1 week to take them down.
Okay.
Limiting or creating rules for the inside of a structure that isn't visible from the street.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, if you can't see it from the street, then who cares? Things like, it also can't be seen from a neighbor's property or like a golf course.
Okay,
so if you're
makes sense. A community area.
A community area,
okay.
Yeah. They can no longer ban vegetable gardens or clotheslines if they can't be seen from the street, a neighbor's property, or adjacent property. And they can no longer require review of plans for central AC or heat if it's not visible from the street as well.
Okay.
It also requires HOAs to provide each member a physical or digital copy of their new rules and regulations by October 1st, 2024.
That's a good one. They need that.
I just thought it was interesting. Like, they had to get the law involved.
Right. Because there's so many different ways these rules are done. All right, here's a good one. Can I both love and hate HOAs?
Yes, everybody
shocking.
seems to.
Yeah, it really depends on the situation. In 2 different condos, the HOA boards were such a pain to deal with. The people were frustrating. The dues kept rising. There were special assessments. It was awful. On the flip side, during COVID, our crazy purchase was 35 acres off the grid land in Colorado. This quotes, neighborhood of 40 lots with some full-time residents, some lots with houses, some lots with cabins, others with nothing. It does have an HOA with 1 page of rules, including things like no big piles of trash, no non-working or unregistered vehicles, and building a certain number of feet from the lot lines. They also maintain the roads and a gate that helps keep strangers from camping, hunting on our private land. They also contract with the local rancher to allow cattle to free-range graze in our neighborhood, which makes all of our taxes fall under agriculture and are therefore much lower.
Oh.
Our dues are under $400 a year. So in this case, we love our HOA, and our yearly meetings are a hoot and such an interesting mix of people.
That's so fun.
Isn't that so fun?
Yeah.
So fun. Okay, let's do a quick FHA Fannie Mae one. This is impacted a recent downtown condo listing that she had. The HOA board for this building, unfortunately, is made up of individuals who don't actually own units in the building. I don't really know how that happened. Maybe they don't. I don't know.
Live there anymore.
They recently voted to increase insurance deductibles on the building to lower the out-of-pocket expenses. This, however, impacted the Fannie Mae loan limitations for condo deductibles.
Yeah.
Fannie Mae requires that a single deductible occurrence must be no greater than 5% for certain insurance types. The building now fell into 8.9%, no longer able to qualify for a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan product without a buyer having to get more insurance to bridge the gap. All in all, HOAs can be awesome, so as long as decisions are made in the best interest of the homeowners and not driven by power-hungry individuals.
Wow.
A lot of power,
yes,
stuff going on here.
I will be the king of the condo.
That's right. I'm going to tell you. I'm trying to see. I had a couple more. I wish I had a funny one. Personally, I have never lived in one, but I do see the value in them. It truly provides that low maintenance. See, I think sometimes people in some markets just it's like they're come and mow your lawn and the whole vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But that low maintenance lifestyle that some people really need. I am seeing more and more younger people seek out an HOA because they are so busy and they don't want the responsibility of the lawn, etc. I think that HOAs are more successful when they are ran by a management company versus the homeowners. I think when homeowners make up the association, it creates drama.
Yeah.
Because the people on the board will try to make it the way they want it and enforce their will into the guidelines. I even had a situation of one of our previous presidents here then said, it's time for someone else to be in charge, but this is who I want to be the president because I can tell them what to do.
That's terrible.
But it's so political.
The good old boys club.
So political.
Everything is so political.
I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. I'm like, no, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one more story and then we will call it a day.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Great stories.
Such good stories.
Fascinating. I always learn best from hearing what everybody else is going through.
We're going to have to do two because one of them has a Betty Sue character.
Oh.
Literally.
Okay.
As a realtor, I believe that good HOA helps to maintain good rising property values in a neighborhood. Fair. There are people, however, who should not live in an HOA neighborhood. My husband is one of them, unfortunately.
Did I write this?
No. We went from a 14.5 acre and a house that could not be seen from the road that also backed up to a 600 acre farm to an attached one-level alley entry garage home in a great HOA neighborhood. We don't even mow our lawn or pluck our weeds anymore. It's all done for us. But you can't easily take a man out of the country, LOL. He's been in trouble over and over again, from parking out front and guest parking overnight to leaving his trailer hooked up to the SUV in the back. He's just not good HOA material, and the HOA management company lets us know it. Emails, letters, threats. If everyone around here didn't love him so much, I feel certain we would have been thrown out already.
Oh my.
Then there's my sister's HOA for her townhome complex in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, located 1.5 miles off 30A, with a sidewalk all the way to the beach. The HOA manager was an on-site homeowner, not a management company. This manager couldn't afford to pay higher HOA dues, so she kept the dues the same for years while neglecting maintenance and not building reserves to do the capital improvements and repairs. My sister, who was a retired realtor, moved into the neighborhood and promptly overthrew the then current HOA president. Her efforts brought to light all that needed to be done, but there were no funds with which to do those things. So the entire neighborhood had to be hit with special assessments, skyrocketing dues, just to try and get it back on track.
And now they probably hate her.
The former president put her home on the market and sold it before all of this came out. Right?
Wow.
All right, last one. HOAs are a very mixed bag of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to go out. On paper, they want the best for each homeowner.
Yeah.
But what usually happens is that someone gets on their high horse and takes it upon themselves to be the neighborhood leader and goes around issuing fines to all the homes for everything they can because they have the power to do so. Here in Georgia, we have a mix of different types of HOAs. You have ones that everyone thinks their homes are $1 million and the grass should be combed and fed bonbons. Then you have the ones where it sounds great when then you have the ones where it sounds great when you sign the CAD and think they have your best interest at heart, but when Billy Joe pulls up with his RV in the front lawn and lets Betty Sue live in it for a few years, the HOA doesn't do a thing. I am for an HOA overall, but one that shares responsibility between neighbors and not with one leader of the pack making all the decisions. And they are hard to find.
They are hard to find. So many stories. Look at all these stories.
So many stories. I think we got to most of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you all for sending in your stories. We always love to share what's going on in other places and your opinions. It's very helpful for us to
learn so much from y'all.
We learned so much. Ultimately, I think I learned that I don't want to be in Florida in an HOA.
I know.
Currently.
I know.
But I would love to live in Florida.
Right? So what do we do?
Yeah, you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Yeesh. Okay, here's a toast, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
This is Christy Chapman Topolesky from Coldwell Banker Realty in Woodbridge, Virginia. And I just want to toast the amazing agents with hashtag Team Woodbridge. Y'all are the best business partners a broker could possibly want to have. I appreciate you all so much, and I am so looking forward to having a strong finish to 2023 and crushing 2024. Thank you all so much for your partnership. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to ratethispodcast.com/hustlehumbly and leave us a review or drop a comment if you're listening on Spotify.
If you have an episode topic or someone you'd like to toast on the show, please email us at team@hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Find us on social media at Hustle Humbly Podcast. Don't forget to find all of the free resources at hustlehumblypodcast.com/resources.
See you next week.